So today I'm going to read a story from from this book. This is called Filipino Children's Favorite Stories and Fables, Myths, and Fairy Tales. And I grew up with these stories. We call them alamat, which are like legends. So, you know, it's a story of make-believe. And as children, I always look forward to all these stories that were told from, you know, from our elders and our friends, our neighbors. And so, you know, it took us to so many places that we could only dream of at that time. So let me start, okay? The title of the story is The Princess Bride. Okay. I want to see all of you married before I die, the old king said to his 3 sons who were gathered by his bedside. The king's forehead was slick with perspiration, and his voice was barely above a whisper. He had been sick for so many months, and every day he grew weaker. Now, go, he said hoarsely. Go and search for your wives. See, this king had 3 sons, and before you know, he was dying. So before he dies, he wanted his 3 sons to get married, and you know, just see them stable and settled with their families. So at least get married. So let me continue. Early the next morning, the 3 young princes set out. Traveling with them were servants who carried rice, water, fish, and presents for the future brides. Full of energy and excitement, the princes each took a different route across the hillsides surrounding the kingdom. So for those who are just joining us, I'm reading a story from the Filipino folktales book. Okay, so let's continue. Days later, Manuel, the oldest son, returned with an elegant woman whose silken hair reached down to her knees. Soon after, Paulo, the second-born son, arrived with another woman equally beautiful and kind. Her radiant smile lit up the king's room, and her skin was exceptionally smooth and luminous. The old king brightened when his sons introduced the brides. Now I will die happy, knowing you two will care for my sons, he told the ladies. Yes, you are both very suitable for my boys. Then the door opened. And who do you think was that? That was the 3rd son. And his name is Marco. So the door opened and the servant stepped into the king's chamber. Your Highness, he said, smiling and turning red as if he were trying not to laugh, Marco has arrived. Send him in, the king said. Yes, Your Highness, the servant said. Carefully, he closed the door behind him, but as soon as he did, he burst into laughter. Ha 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 ha! Oh my gosh! Oh wow! Manuel, Paulo, and their 2 brides looked at one another with puzzled expressions. Why is he laughing? Manuel whispered to his brother. Marco, the youngest son, entered the room. Cradled in his arms was a big, ugly caterpillar, as long as his forearm. So he introduced this caterpillar to his dad. So he said, meet Berta, stroking the giant worm. She has agreed agreed to be my wife. A caterpillar for a wife? Okay. So for an instant, the king said nothing. He just looked at the youngest prince and scratched his white beard. Then his face broke into a wide grin. "Ha! Very funny," he said. "No, father," Marco said good-naturedly. "It's not a joke. I'm really going to marry Berta." So Berta is the caterpillar. The king was laughing. "I know she is not what you expect, father," Marco continued, "but she has kept me company throughout my journey, and she has won my heart." The king stopped laughing, and his lips turned white. "What?" he said. "Berta is going to marry me," Marco explained one more time to his dad. "Get out," the king shouted, "and get that hairy worm out of here. I will not have a caterpillar as a daughter-in-law." Marco gently laid Berta down on a rocking chair, and then he calmly approached his father's bed. "Father," in his serious tone, "I respect you, and I don't want to make you unhappy." He paused, glancing back at the caterpillar, whose name is Berta. "But Berta is a magical creature. I know she looks like a caterpillar, but she speaks as intelligently as any woman I have ever met." The king grunted and turned his head away from his son. "More importantly," Marco said, "she loves me and I love her." Marco reached over and put a hand on his father's shoulder. "Father, please listen." The king, who was a fair and loving father, slowly turned over to face his son. "I would be the happiest man alive. No, I am the happiest man alive because of Berta. Please, Father, I beg you, give us your blessing." The king remained silent for a long, long time. When he finally spoke, he seemed tired and sad. Now, he told Marco, "Marco, you are a fool. But if you don't mind that the whole town will laugh at you, then you can do as you wish." "Oh, thank you so much, Father." And Marco kissed the king's hand. "I'm so very grateful." The next day, the king announced that the wedding would take place in 3 days in order to give the brides enough time to weave their own veils. So each of these brides were going to weave their own veils. Okay, so the two brides of, what was the name of the two brothers? The two brothers, Manuel and Paulo, they started weaving their beautiful veils. So now, as part of the traditional Filipino wedding ceremony, which, if you're a Filipino, you probably know about this. The traditional Filipino wedding ceremony, the veils would be draped around each couple as a symbol of their unity. Is that true? Yes, it's true. I had a veil when we were married. So the brides immediately got to work on their veils, as 3 days was little time to weave a cloth broad enough to be wrapped around 2 people. So Manuel's bride wove a delicate cloth using silk and pineapple fibers called sutlang piña. Paulo's bride produced a sturdy fabric made from wild banana leaves called abaca. So on the wedding day, by the way, I think I'm wearing a piña cloth here. I think this is made of piña, pineapple fiber. Anyway, on the wedding day, the veils were displayed on the backs of each couple's carriage for all the town people to see. As the wedding procession slowly floated down the town's main street, cries of approval rose up from the crowd. God bless you. She's beautiful. Best of luck to you both. May you have many children. These were the cries of the town people. But neither of the exquisite veils could compare to the lush silk Berta wove. Yards and yards of colorful silk adorned Marco's carriage, every one of its brilliant threads gleaming brightly in the morning sun. Yet, even though the cloth was stunning, the crowd jeered when they saw Marco's caterpillar bride. Yeah. Someone cried out to Marco, "She's got more hair than you." And another one shouted, "You should have married my goat." And then another one said, "The youngest prince is so blind." So I want to show you the wedding carriage of Paolo, right there. Or Marco. I got confused now with these three princes. Okay. Okay. Marco lovingly stroked Berta's fuzzy neck. "It's all right, my sweet," he said. "They can laugh all they want, and I'll still love you." At the end of the procession, the couples descended from their carriages and approached an outdoor altar that was set up for the ceremony. From a balcony above the altar, the king was watching. Manuel and Paolo stood proudly next to the brides throughout the mass. Marco cradled Berta close to his chest. Remember, Berta is a caterpillar, and Marco is marrying Berta, who is a caterpillar. Okay, that's true love. So, as Marco began to kneel, Berta suddenly spoke. "Marco, put me on the ground and crush me with your foot." Marco looked at her, very alarmed. "What? Why?" "Please, Marco, please. Don't ask questions. Just trust me and do as I say." But, no more buts. "Now, my prince," Berta said, "you have to do it before it's too late." So Marco shook his head in bewilderment, but he gently set her on the ground as she asked. Then he closed his eyes and he lifted his foot above her and brought it down just below her neck. So Marco crushed Berta. Guess what happened? Even with his eyes closed, Marco saw a bright light suddenly flash before him, and he felt a gust of cool wind. When he opened his eyes, in front of him stood the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. He looked at her astonished. The crowd gasped in surprise. Marco's brothers could only stare. With her full red lips and almond-shaped eyes, the woman's magnificent beauty made the two other brides very jealous. "I'm free at last," the woman said to Marco. This was Berta, kissing him on the cheek. "Thank you so much, Marco." So Marco was, very, very puzzled. So he had to ask Berta, "So who are you?" The woman tossed back her long wavy hair and laughed. "I am Berta, of course. I was a princess once, but a witch cast a spell on me, and only the truest of love from a prince could break it." "Berta," the young prince said in disbelief. "Yes, my prince, it's really me." Slowly, a warm smile spread across Marco's face. "Berta, why, you're so perfect." The crowd burst into tears as Marco took her in his arms and kissed her. The king stood up from his chair, clapping in delight. By noon, the three couples were married. The whole town celebrated with a fiesta of dancing. You know, Filipinos, we love to celebrate like a fiesta. So fiesta of dancing, singing, and of course, succulent food. Eventually, the king grew to love the caterpillar princess more than his other daughters-in-law. And before he died, he left the throne to Marco, the youngest prince.